Hey guys, what is going on? This is Wrestlelamia, back with another episode. Super ShowDown is over, but there's still lots going on in the wild world of wrestling. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the furious fan backlash from Super ShowDown, the latest Wednesday Night War ratings, the one storyline Cody refuses to do, Jim Ross discusses a potential Vince vs. Bischoff fight, a new star debuting in AEW soon, and more. Wednesday Night War Week 22 ratings. Week 22 of the Wednesday Night War is over and AEW emerged victorious again. PW Insider's Dave Shearer is reporting that the 226 edition of AEW did 865,000 overnight viewers, down from last week's 893,000 overnight viewers. The 226 edition of NXT did 717,000 overnight viewers, down from last week's 794,000 overnight viewers. AEW lost 3% of its audience from the previous week, while NXT lost 9%. The Black and Gold brand is loading up its show for 4th March with 2 cages scheduled, a wise move not only due to its inability to defeat Dynamite, but the fact that Dynamite is taking place after its Revolution pay-per-view, which traditionally bumps an audience. In terms of the 18 to 49 demographics, AEW dipped from 0.31 to 0.30, while NXT dropped from 0.25 to 0.23. Super ShowDown Backlash. Although this year's Super ShowDown was an engaging show, not everyone agreed with the decision for Bill Goldberg to be the man to not only beat the previously undefeated Fiend, but to beat him for the Universal Championship. Let's take a look at a few comments concerning Goldberg's big win. On Reddit, fans shared their disgust. So let me get this straight. Not only does The Fiend suffer from this loss being beaten by a wrestler that is about 20 years past his prime, but so does Daniel Bryan, who gave it all he got on multiple occasions and still lost. So does Seth Rollins, who hit 15 bloody curb stomps and couldn't get the job done. I have no beef with wanting to book Roman Reigns vs. Goldberg at Mania, but Jesus Christ, it does not need the title. And poor Bray, man, can't catch a break. He looked like an absolute joke there. How did anybody think that was the right thing to do? Absolutely stunned by that, LMAO. Another Reddit user pointed out how weak Goldberg's jackhammer looked when he defeated The Fiend. We just saw Goldberg beat Bray with a glorified suplex. One Reddit user likened Goldberg's win to Brock's squash win over Kofi Kingston. Same shit they did with Kofi. Spent almost a year building him up, then have him lose in seconds to Brock. Look at Kofi now. Stuck back in a tag division he and the New Day have been stuck in for way too long. It bears mentioning that the Goldberg vs. Fiend match was no squash. It took Goldberg multiple spears to soften up the Fiend, and at 2 different points in the match, the Fiend locked the mandible claw in, a big difference from Kofi Kingston's 9-second loss to Brock. While some fans are unhappy, there is a difference between a humiliating squash and what fans expect from a Goldberg match. No, we're not talking about Goldberg nearly killing his opponent, but working a short match as he traditionally does. Arguably, the biggest bone of contention is that The Fiend suffered his first defeat right before WrestleMania. This was a common complaint. Months of build-up for Fiend fades away before a big match at WrestleMania. WrestleLamia certainly isn't alone in saying this, but The Fiend should have gone into Mania as the champ. If WWE wanted to go with Reigns vs. Goldberg, they didn't need a championship on the line, as it's a dream match to begin with. Ultimately, WWE should have gone with the original rumored plan of Reigns battling The Fiend for the Universal title. Bill Goldberg praises Paul Heyman. Speaking of Big Bad Bill, now that the smoke is cleared and Goldberg is your new Universal Champion, what led him to try his hand at another Super ShowDown event after last year's disastrous match against The Undertaker? Speaking to Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso, Goldberg explained, "I needed to erase my performance here first and foremost. I knocked myself out 30 seconds into the match and I performed like a schoolchild. That's one of the reasons I'm back, and this is my opportunity to do it." While Goldberg obtained a bit of redemption at SummerSlam, it's clear he wanted to show his fans in Saudi Arabia that what happened last year was a fluke. Goldberg told Barrasso he realizes, "My internal clock is ticking, and I don't know when it's going to stop in terms of my ability to put these boots on and continue to do what I used to do." Things have also changed in that he relies on people outside the ring to help him. Dollar Bill praised Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis for their help, but particularly Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is one of the few people on this planet that can set up a scenario for myself to fulfill and entertain everyone. In the beginning, I didn't need a Paul Heyman. I was the Mike Tyson of wrestling. I just needed people in front of me. I took wrestling back to the dark ages, like throwing Romans to the lions. I'm honored to have someone like Paul work with me creatively. Goldberg is doing remarkably well for himself. At age 53, he may not have much time left in the ring, but right now, he's on top of the world. The dumbest thing Tony Schiavone has ever said. Tony Schiavone is known for the night on Nitro when he mocked Mick Foley winning the WWF Championship, leading to Schiavone's infamous call, "That'll put butts in the seats," which he was directed to say by Eric Bischoff. After Mick Foley jokingly tweeted that Tony Schiavone insulted Pac during an episode of Dynamite, he asked rhetorically, "Could this be the second dumbest thing Tony has ever said?" To which Tony tweeted back, "Third dumbest. 1. Yes, Vince, I'll come work for you. 2. Yes, I'll move to Connecticut." Schiavone has really changed his tune when it comes to his one-year stint in the WWF. During his podcast What Happened When, the former WCW announcer and current AEW broadcaster routinely lamented leaving the WWF. However, Schiavone seems angry with the promotion, particularly after it fired Eric Bischoff and excluded ATM Eric from the New World Order's induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. Jim Ross picks who would win in a fight, Bischoff or McMahon. Fans who grew up during the Monday Night War likely remember the infamous angle where Eric Bischoff called out Vince McMahon to fight him at one of WCW's pay-per-views. During an episode of his podcast, Grilling JR, Jim Ross pointed out that everyone in the WWF at the time knew it was a publicity stunt. Still, who would win if the two had met in a parking lot as McMahon had counteroffered? Well, Vince is bigger and stronger, so Bischoff would have to get to him early. Vince has a lot of strength there, but by Eric's training, he should win. He was highly skilled in martial arts at one point in his life. I would think Eric would have the advantage in that regard, plus youth and all that good stuff. But Vince would be stronger. The only thing about the old man is, he told me one time that he'd never lost a street fight, and he grew up around a bunch of Marines in North Carolina, so I know he ain't afraid to tussle. But I don't know, Eric should have been the favorite in that deal if I had to gamble on that, but it could also be a real quick finish in McMahon's favor. Eric Bischoff commented on what he would have done had the fight happened. During an appearance on Busted Open Radio, Eazy-E said, "I told our head of security that if anybody from WWF showed up, escort them to the dressing rooms, accommodate them in any way. The only person that I pulled aside in case anything went wrong was Big Show. I said if it gets ugly, do me a favor and jump in there. It has to be bad though, otherwise let it go." Who do you think would have won had the two tussled? Be sure to leave your comments below. A storyline Cody Rhodes won't do. The new AEW Unrestricted podcast recently featured Cody Rhodes, and during the appearance, Cody talked about a number of subjects, such as whether his dad would have worked for AEW. While Cody admits his famous dad Dusty had a cushy job in NXT, he said he'd like to think the American dream would have come to work for AEW. Cody also discussed one storyline he refuses to do, anything involving derogatory statements made concerning his dad. As Wrestlelamia discussed in our video, times WWE exploited a wrestler's death, promoters often say, Wrestler X would have approved this storyline. Not so far as Cody remembers his dad telling him. That was the great thing about him. Many years ago, he saw this terrible wrestling angle where someone had passed away. They were trying to use him as part of the angle, and I remember my dad telling me, I was only 12 years old, please don't let anyone ever say I would have liked this. They don't know. That's why my big rule is, and it's kind of common knowledge, you can't talk about my dad. If you talk about my dad in a promo, angle's over, brother. He ain't coming back. You gotta talk about me. Chris Jericho didn't totally get the hint. 7. Not a lucky number for Chris Jericho. The 26 February edition of Dynamite featured a wild weigh-in between AEW World Heavyweight Champion Chris Jericho and Jericho's challenger Jon Moxley. During the weigh-in, Moxley had enough of Le Champion's antics, so he headbutted him, leading to a brutal brawl. Jericho's face was busted open, and he informed fans via Instagram that 7 stitches courtesy of Jon Moxley on AEW tonight. My bad, Mox. I let my guard down. Not gonna make the same mistake twice on Saturday at AEW Revolution. Your day of reckoning is coming at the hands of Le Champion. The build-up for AEW Revolution has had many fans talking. Will it live up to the hype? Be sure to check out our recap and analysis of Saturday's show. Kayla Braxton talks to her fans. The WWE's ever-attention-starved personality Kayla Braxton recently announced she's making time to speak to her adoring public. Braxton tweeted, "So I appreciate you guys a lot. and you call me out all the time for not replying to Instagram or Twitter comments, tomorrow I'll give you a date and time where I will reply to all of your non-creepy messages and questions. Stay tuned. No word on whether Braxton will answer questions about her tortured life trying to find a significant other. New star debuting at AEW on 4th March Dynamite. In case you missed it, newly signed AEW star Lance Archer, who wrestled in TNA as Lance Hoyt, will debut on the 4th March edition of Dynamite. However, could fans also see another star? Scott Hall discusses Bill's big win. Last but not least, former Bill Goldberg rival Scott Hall took to Twitter to share his thoughts on Goldberg's Universal Championship win. Guess I better dust off my taser. Well guys, there you have it, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. What did you think about these wild stories? Be sure to leave your comments and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.